I call Tim McIndoe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I feel very proud of what we are on the cusp of doing tonight, and that is giving the people of New Zealand an opportunity to do exactly what 3 out of 4 people voted to be able to do less than 12 months ago. I always listen to the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta with respect, and she knows I hold her in high regard. And I've listened carefully to her arguments, and I acknowledge some of them. But I ask her to look around her colleagues and to think carefully about some of the arguments that they have advanced, because she must be ashamed of some of the contributions that Labor members have made to this debate, that a party would put aside principle to go for short-term populist interests because they seem at the moment to resonate with the public because there's a certain mood out there. She needs to reflect again on the fact that the Labor Party went to the 2014 election less than 12 months ago saying that they had a policy which aims to enhance knowledge, appreciation and pride in New Zealand's identity, history, biculturalism, multiculturalism and other diversity, community resilience, distinctiveness, etc., through a review of the design of the New Zealand flag involving flag design experts and with full public consultation and involvement. In other words, sir, exactly what we've just had and what we are continuing to do. And sir, I want to commend all 40 of those designs, some of them of course by the same designer, but there are a large number of designers whose work is represented there. They reflect a variety of symbols which give us choice, and I have to say I'd be very proud for a large number of those to be the New Zealand flag. But I'm going to put on record that along with many people, I personally opt for the Kyle Lockwood red and blue fern with the Southern Cross flag, and I'll explain why in a moment. But I am absolutely appalled, sir, at the claptrap we've had to listen to, particularly from the Labor Party, but also from their friends in the Greens, because there is absolutely no doubt that the vast majority of members of both of those parties want change in this area. And they must be astonished that their representatives in this House have come here and are suddenly arguing for no change on an issue that they've all talked about for a very long time, in many cases for many generations. When I spoke in the second reading of this debate, sir, I explained why it is quite a personal issue for me. We've heard a lot about what our military men and women might feel on this issue. And I made the point that I'm the great-grandson, the grandson, the son and the nephew of men who fought in the New Zealand Army in the great conflicts of the late 19th and 20th century, the Boer War, the First World War and the Second World War. And my Uncle Ken was killed in action right at the end of the Second World War, and he's buried in southern Italy. And along with all of those who could tell a similar story of being the descendants of people who fought for our country, they would all acknowledge that the thing those men, and in some cases women, have in common is that they are buried with a symbol that is not the New Zealand flag. It is not the New Zealand flag, Mr. CEO. It is the silver fern. I'll smile if you would like me to, because I'm proud of what we're doing. And I would say to Mr. CEO, rather than treating it like a village idiot, he too should turn to his colleagues and say, this is serious and we are letting down the people who voted for us. Because those who voted Labor at the last election voted for what we are doing here today. And I cannot believe that they are turning their back on their own policy less than a year later and trying to pretend that somehow they're doing it on a point of principle. Sir, I agreed with Marama Fox when she said earlier that the New Zealand men and women who have fought for this country fought for freedom, they fought for values, they fought to maintain the way of life that we hold dear. Some may have had a sense of pride in a flag, but they didn't fight for that flag, they fought for our country and for those who are allied to us and who share those values and who wanted to suppress tyranny and fight back against tyranny. And I say to them, thank you for that service. And that's why I believe that at this time, far from Mr. Mallard's argument that it is disrespectful to be having this debate now, there is no better time for us to honour the legacy of those men and women than as we mark the centenary of Gallipoli and the 100-year period since the World War I of 1914 to 1918. And as we look at those who, through the ages in New Zealand's relatively short history, have fought for us, I believe that the symbol that they would most want to have on our flag is the symbol that is on their graves, the silver fern. It's as simple as that. That's why, while I do believe in change in this issue, I particularly want the fern on our flag. Now, sir, I'm proud of my British heritage, and most of us in this House, certainly not all, but most of us have some British heritage. And the Union Jack's a fantastic flag. If I were British, I'd wear it, I'd fly it, I'd proudly display it at all opportunities. But we're not. We're 12,500 miles away, and it's a very long time since we were a British colony. And the time, therefore, in my view, is right to take that colonial emblem off our flag and to reassert our independence as a modern and progressive nation. I am absolutely sick of having the confusion with the Australian flag constantly thrown at us. When people are overseas and asked to identify the New Zealand flag, hardly anyone can. And 50 years ago, the Canadians had the same argument because they had a similar flag. It just was predominantly red instead of the blue that we've got. They had the same issue. They changed to a symbol that they all identified with, the maple leaf. And which one of them would go back to that now? Not one of them, because they all now feel incredibly proud of that emblem that they wear and they fly and they display on their backpacks, which says unashamedly, we are Canadian. Well, I want something that says we're New Zealanders and let's be recognised as New Zealanders right around the world. And the silver fern, sir, will do that. But I also want to retain the stars of the Southern Cross, and that's why I like that Kyle Lockwood design, because the Southern Cross were the stars that guided our Maori ancestors to this land, and to my mind this is a wonderful way of honouring that legacy of the tangata whenua of this land, but also putting on something that we all embrace as New Zealanders of a modern era. So, as I said, I'm absolutely appalled by the duplicity and the populist hypocrisy of the 2015 version of the Labour Party, which can't even honour its own 2014 election policy. What an abuse of trust. And for the leader of the Labour Party this year to say that he won't even vote in an election, when last year he went on record and said this is absolutely the right thing, this is what we should be doing, this is the way to go about it, is absolutely abominable. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If New Zealanders don't vote to change the flag this time, most of us won't see the opportunity come again in our lifetime. Some of the younger members maybe, but most of us will not. And here we're being told that the cost is an issue. Well, sir, it's the first time that New Zealanders have been given a chance, all of them, to say, this is the flag that I want. And what price democracy? It's an important decision to be made, and I would suggest to you, sir, that it is money that is worth spending and worth doing the process correctly. I cannot believe that there are some who would argue that because there are other things we could spend the money on, and of course there always will be, we shouldn't do it. Well, that argument will apply next year and the year after and 5 years when the Labour Party said that will never change. At some point we have to spend the money, and I believe spending the money on having a truly democratic decision on this particular issue is really important. I'll go back to the other issue that Mr. Mallard raised earlier about going to tell the RSA what you think. I'll accept an invitation from any RSA around the country to go and have this discussion, because I find when I talk to returned service men and women that they do understand the argument when it's put, and I repeat that I believe that we are honouring them, their service, and particularly those of their comrades who paid the ultimate sacrifice by putting the symbol that is on the tombstones across Western Europe onto their graves. And so, sir, I am, as I said at the outset of this speech, incredibly proud of the opportunity that we're delivering to the country. I'm incredibly proud as a national MP that we are honouring the commitment that we took to the country last year, that we are standing by the policy that we campaigned on, and I remind everybody listening that nearly 3 in every 4 people who voted in last year's election voted for this, so let's get on and do what they voted for.
Members, this debate is concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party votes called for. I'll ask the clerk to conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
32 votes opposed.
Green Party.
12 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
12 opposed.
Māori Party.
2 in favour.
Ag New Zealand.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Members, the ayes are 63, the noes are 56. The motion is agreed to.
New Zealand Flag Referendums Bill, third reading.
Call on Government Order of the Day number... point of order, Joanne Hayes.
Mr Speaker, the House has made good progress this week and I seek leave to rise the House early.
Leave is sought for the House to rise earlier. Is any objection? There is no objection. Then, members, the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 18th of August 2015. Good evening.